Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We have a new video where we're cooking some oyster mushrooms. You see them there. They are full of nutrition and benefit, and they are a great meat substitute. We're going to be frying them using spelt flour, which is an ancient grain. So that's what we're going to be using for our seasoning. We have some garlic powder. We will also be using some sea salt, which is a great substitute for regular salt, which is very unhealthy. We also have some onion powder. Those will be used for our seasonings. And of course, we'll be frying it in some grapeseed oil. So first, what we're going to do, the mushrooms have already been cleaned and washed, lightly washed. And we'll be cutting them up because we don't want too big, because we're going to be putting them in wraps. So it's going to be like a fried chicken wrap without the chicken. So we're going to take some of the pieces and just cut the stem, the bottom of it off, which is kind of like the root. I think it's tougher, but it keeps the mushroom together, of course. So we're going to be cutting them up, and we're going to take that part away. And we're going to be chopping down the mushrooms basically so that they'll fry faster, and they won't be so big so that we can fit them in the wrap. So we're just going to slice those up into smaller pieces. Cut the stem off as well. Now the bottom parts of them, sometimes I fry those because they're not as thick as they look, and they are smaller, and I like my chicken pieces, or my fake chicken pieces to be exact, to be smaller so that the wrap isn't so bulky. So we're going to chop those up. See how we chopped them up there? Some good old oyster mushrooms. They're tougher, meaning that they're more chewy, like a meat. So it's not like you're eating like the slimy mushroom that most people are used to. Now what we're going to do is make our wet batter. This is going to make the mushrooms more crunchy so that it will feel and taste like actual chicken. So we're going to put a couple scoops of ancient grain spelt inside the bowl. We're going to add some seasonings to it as well, but we want to just make sure that we have enough where it'll coat each mushroom evenly so that you'll get the same nice crunch. We're going to add some spring water in here. Nothing like some good old spring water. We're going to add that in there just to get the wet batter wet so that it'll coat the chicken and not come off. We're going to add some sea salt. Look like a little bit too much there, but hey, let's see what we end up with. Some onion powder. And of course, we're going to use some garlic powder. I love garlic powder on just about everything that I cook. So that's what we're going to do here. Put a little garlic powder in there. And we're going to stir that up to make sure that everything is nice and blended together. So we're going to blend that up and get that moist batter wet. So we're going to add some more water because it wasn't liquidy enough. So we're going to go ahead and stir that up. Make sure that everything is blended in there. And just stir, stir, stir. This is going to be so delicious. I hope you guys try this at home as well. Oyster mushrooms actually have a lot of benefits. If you're trying to be vegan or plant-based, it's a great option because if you're like me, I love chewing. I don't like smoothies that much. I don't like sweet stuff that much. I actually like wholesome food, which is why it was hard for me to become vegan. But mushrooms are a great substitute for meat. And you see I'm adding a little more water there because the batter was a little more thicker than what I would like. So I'm going to add some more water in there and give that a stir. And next we're going to add the oyster mushrooms inside the batter to make sure that it's coated evenly. And we're just going to make sure that everything, all the seasonings are mixed in together. See that there? Nice and liquidy. So we have our wet batter. It's not too thick. It's not too thin. It's just right. It's a little lumpy, and that's okay. We're going to let that sit for a little while just so everything can join together. We're going to go ahead and put the grapeseed oil inside the frying pan so that it can go ahead and be heating up, because next I have to get the dry batter ready. I have to put the mushrooms in the wet batter so the oil can go ahead and be heating up. So we're going to go ahead and cut that stovetop range on high. And I've noticed with this, you can't really cook it low because it doesn't fry. So I really like cut it almost all the way up just to make sure. So now we're going to add the oyster mushrooms inside the wet batter. We're going to stir that up to make sure that everything is evenly coated. You don't want no mushroom left behind. So make sure everything gets nice and coated, because once you put it in the dry batter, you want it to stick, and that's basically what the wet batter does. It makes sure that everything sticks to it so that you don't lose any flavor, and so that every bite is crunchy, just like fried chicken. So I think we got that nice and coated. Make sure the range is getting hot, and we're going to make sure that the mushrooms are nicely coated, and we're going to sit that to the side. And next we're going to, I got a few more pieces that I want to add to it. Because like I said, me and my daughter are vegan, so I have to make sure that I have enough for one more person. So I'm going to add some more mushrooms in there. Make sure that's nicely coated as well. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm making sure everything is coated. If anything looks like it's not, I'm just going to make sure to add that wet batter on top and stir that up, but not too rough, because the mushrooms aren't tough, so you have to you have to be delicate. So I'm not doing it too rough where they'll fall apart. I'm doing it just smoothly enough where the wet batter just coats it. And make sure not to do it too hard. I don't want them to be too small, because then it's just going to be too much. We're not doing that. So anywho, now on to the dry batter. Again, we're going to use some spelt flour. That is my go-to flour now. I try to make sure, I order mine from Amazon. I'm not really sure. It's also a vegan store here in where I live. So sometimes when I run out, I know exactly where to go to get it. Other than that, I don't know any other stores that really carry spelt flour. If you do, comment below, and maybe I'll give those stores a chance as well. So now what we'll do is put the mushrooms inside the dry batter, which is the flour. And that's taking too long. I need it to be done quicker. So normally what I do it the old school way. I go and get me a bag. I put my dry flour inside the bag. I add the mushrooms to the bag, and I shake it up, and I make sure that there is flour on every piece of mushroom. So that's what I'm doing now. So hold on just a second. I'll be right back. I don't have any holding music, so you'll just hear my voice until I get back. Taking a little long there, but I'm coming back. There I am. So we put the mushrooms, still adding it to the dry flour. So I haven't went and got the bag yet. So I'm still adding it to the dry batter. And this is why I start this. It's too much. This is time consuming, and I like to get things done faster. So I'm putting them in there, and I'm noticing, because the container is so small that I got it in, I know that I'm going to have to use a plastic bag. So I'm just adding them in the flour. As you see, that every mushroom that I take out of the bowl, it is nicely coated with wet batter. So I'm already knowing that this is going to be some crunchy, good oyster mushroom, aka fake chicken. So we're just still adding it to the flour. Making sure that we get all the mushrooms out of the wet batter. We don't want to leave none of this good stuff behind. So just make sure we put it on in there. Add it on in there. That's what we're doing. Now I need to wipe my hands off. I hate when my hands be wet like that. So see, now I'm adding some more flour, and there's no way I'm finna stir this up to get just dry on top of that wetness. The wetness is kind of like overpowering that dry flour. So I'm already know I'm gonna have to add all of this stuff inside of a bag and shake it up, because this is not working. I don't like this. So I see that the grease is about ready, and that's a good thing to always remember. If you could be doing something while you got your grease getting hot, go ahead and get your grease hot, so that once you get finished preparing the the oyster mushroom, by the time you get done preparing it, the grease is already ready, so you don't have to sit and wait for the grease to get hot. So now I have went and got the bags. So go ahead and I double it up to make sure that it doesn't have a hole in it. I double it up so that to keep everything inside, because you don't want that type of mess on your hands. So I'm just going to dump everything in this bowl or this container, and I'm going to put it in my bag, and I'm going to shake it up. Make sure that all my oyster mushrooms have the dry powder on there, because again, this is going to be basically where your crunch is coming from. And you want every piece to be nice and crunchy, because you already know, well, I already know that the texture of the oyster mushroom is chewy. So we got that part of the fake meat. Now we just need the crunch and all of those seasonings that come together. So we're just going to shake it up, make sure everything is nice and coated, and it's looking real good. So I'm just going to put all of it back into the container. I could have left it in the bag, but sometimes when you have stuff in the bag and it's coated with flour, I always tend to leave probably 1 or 2 pieces. So this is just to ensure that everything is out of the bag. So I'm just going to put that away. I'm going to fold my flour back up so that I can put it back on the shelf. And now I'm just going to add a little more sea salt, because I did not season the dry batter like I intended. I just forgot. So it's never too late. I'm going to add some more salt on there. And I need to do better with that, because that looks like a lot of salt. But hey, we're going to see what we get when we get there. All right, so I think we got everything seasoned. We got everything coated. We got the wet batter. We got the dry batter. We got all of the good seasonings and all the goodness on here. Now, all that's left, fry that baby up. So we're going to start putting the coated mushrooms inside the grease. We want to make sure that we space them out, because you don't want everything too close together. I've noticed that when you fry things and it's too much or too close together, it doesn't fry evenly, or it doesn't fry as fast. So we're going to make sure everything is spaced out, and we're going to add one by one. See, I'm cleaning up my mess first. Cleanliness is next to godliness. That's in the Bible. Church. But anyway, so we're going to add the mushrooms inside the grease. Make sure the grease is ready. I sprinkle just a little bit of flour in there just to make sure that it's ready, and it seems to be ready. So we're going to go ahead and add those mushrooms in the grease. See how that's sizzling? Oh, we cooking now, baby. Oh, we ready. So I'm trying to ease it over so that y'all can get a better look at what it looks like while it's frying. And I'm trying to do this being safe, because I do not want hot grease falling on me. We're gonna have to go to the hospital. Gonna have to pause the video, cut the video off. We need to go to the hospital. We're not doing it today. So we're just gonna keep on adding the pieces in there, spreading them out, making sure that it's nice and coated. I don't use too much grease to coat everything, because what you don't want is a greasy fake chicken. You don't want greasiness. You want nice, crispy fake chicken. So that's what we're doing. Not a lot of grease. That way you can just flip it over. It's not just soaking in the grease. It's actually cooking in the grease. Soaking in the grease versus cooking in the grease. You want cooking in the grease. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to let those brown on the bottom. And mushrooms, because it's not actual meat, we don't have to cook them that long. So once you basically you're just cooking the flour. You want a golden brown color. That lets you know that you finna be crunching and you finna have a good meal. So we just want to make sure that everything is browning the same. We're going to flip them over so that they can brown evenly on the other side as well. So that's what we're doing here. We're just waiting and frying, waiting and frying. So we're going to cook that up. Go ahead and flip those babies over, because I see the coloration. So I'm just going to make sure that it's golden brown on the bottom. And that's what we're doing here. I want y'all to get a nice, good view of that. You see how that's cooking? You see the sizzling? Oh, we cooking. We cooking. We frying fake chicken, baby. So, I make sure I got my napkin so that the grease can drain through. And I've also noticed that when you put stuff like fried food directly on the napkin, sometimes it sticks to the napkin. Sometimes it doesn't maintain a good freshness or a good crunch. So I try to put the filter, well, the filter tray, I don't know what you call that little device with all the holes in it, a strainer. When you put the chicken or the fried food directly on the strainer and have the napkin under it, it seems like the air like keeps it fresh and crunchy. Whereas when you put it on napkin, sometimes I notice it gets kind of soggy. I guess because it's sitting in the grease. Whereas if you put it on the strainer, it's not sitting in the grease because the grease goes through the hole. So it's not just sitting in the grease. So that's what I created that habit. Maybe other people do it. Maybe I didn't create it. Whatever floats your boat. If you want it directly on the napkin, then you do that. But that ain't what I'm doing. So I flipped the oyster mushrooms over. Now I'm finna get a brown consistency on the other side. So that's what we're doing here. We're gonna flip that on. We already flipped it over. So now we're just waiting on the same golden color on the other side. And that's what we're gonna do. So we're just waiting and frying and cooking. And waiting and frying and cooking. So that's what we're doing here. And when you have time, just go look and see what all the benefits are for yourself for oyster mushrooms. They have a lot of benefits, not just a meat replacer, but if you are wanting to be vegan instead of eating all that processed fake meat, you can do the organic, the natural way, which is mushrooms, because they're not processed. They're actually just grown mushrooms. There's nothing added to it. They're just what they are, mushrooms. So I see that we're starting to, we got the crunch going on. I wanted a little more browner, so I did flip a couple pieces back over. You know, when you like what you like and you know what it looks like when you like it, you know that I wanted to cook it a little longer. So that's what I did there, flipping them back over. Sometimes I like mine to have a little burnt spot. That'll let you know that it's going to be crunchy. So we're just going to flip those back over and wait a little longer. And do that way. And I'm such an impatient cook. I be want my food done ASAP because I be so scared I'm gonna mess it up. So sometimes I take them out a little too early. But most of the time, especially if this was real chicken, I will cook it for so long because I be so scared that it's gonna be raw. Well, now we're cooking a mushroom. You ain't gotta worry about no blood. You ain't gotta worry about none of that little nasty fat inside the chicken when it ain't done in them veins. Oh, child, I'm just trying to do better. So you see that? All that's crispy. Now that's crispy. That's crispiness right there. That look like some good crispy chicken, but it ain't chicken. That's mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, that is. So we're just gonna take those up out of there. And another difference with oyster mushroom that to me is different from other mushroom like portobello. Because even if you fry portobello, it's still a soft mushiness on the inside. And I'll eat it, but I don't too much like the soft mushiness because chicken ain't soft and mushy on the inside. It's a texture that you look for when you're eating meat. Oyster mushroom, to me, comes closer than any other mushroom that I've had so far. Now, there are a whole lot of different types of mushrooms that I haven't tried yet. But so far, oyster mushroom is the best meat replacer for me. I haven't tried lion mushroom. I think that's the name of it. It looks too weird and it's too pretty. I don't even want to eat it. It looks like a white lion's mane. Lion's mane mushroom. Not doing that. So now we're just going to add the second batch of mushrooms in the frying pan. Go ahead and cook that. Probably need to cut my grease up a little bit more. But that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to add those in. And get to cooking, baby. Add those on up in that frying pan and get those to cooking. I wish I had some theme music playing. That would have been fire. But it's okay. Hopefully y'all ain't tired of hearing me talk. So just going to add those in there. Didn't realize I had so many. But I do. So that's what we're doing here. Add them in the frying pan. Period. You know I gotta taste one. Y'all hear? Oh no, I cut the sound off. Y'all can't hear the crunch. Crunch. It is. Just believe me, it's crunchy. And they're good. So I know I'm on the right track. You can't see my face in the video, but I'm smiling. Because that one I just ate was busting. So now we just going to fry the rest of them because we on to something now, baby. They messed up then. So see, now you have the finished product. You see how I like some of my pieces a little burnt. So that's what we did right here. We fried them. Make sure that they had the brown flavor. And now we're finna make the wrap. So I use a spelt wraps, as you can see, lavish roll-ups. It's sprouted grains. One serving is half. So I'm just gonna tear that down the middle. I'm gonna fold it because it's actually like, I forgot the word. It already showed you how to divide it so that you don't mess this up. So we're going to just take that out, put that other half back in the bag because we're not doing 2 servings. We don't need 2 servings. We're not trying to be greedy here, but they so good. Like, I love them. So we're just going to add, we're going to get the other half, and we're going to just add everything that we want to go on the wrap. So, hold on, let me just put everything that I'm going to need right here. Didn't have it close enough like I thought, but hey. So we're going to use some vegan mayonnaise. That is my go-to mayonnaise. It tastes just like mayonnaise to me. I don't have no objections. It ain't did me wrong at all. Every time I make a sandwich, every time I make some type of anything, I put my my vegan mayo on there. It tastes so good. It tastes just like mayonnaise. So what I'm going to do is spread my mayonnaise on my wrap. Put as much as you want. I'm pretty sure there is probably a serving size on there. I don't eat a lot of mayo anyway. So to me, it's not gonna be a lot. But I'm gonna spread that on my wrap. And to me, it kind of helps stick the whatever vegetables that I'm gonna add. It kind of holds it there for me. That's what it does for me. Other than the taste, it's delicious. I get that from Walmart. I haven't went there yet and they didn't have it. And now we're going to add some green onions. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you know I love green onions. So I'm just going to add some. Is them green onions? Yeah, those are green onions. I'm going to add a little bit of green onions. And next, because I love color, I'm going to use different color bell peppers. I have the red ones, and those are onions in the middle and green bell peppers. So I'm just going to add a couple green bell peppers and red bell peppers and just a little bit of onions. I don't like a whole lot of onions on anything. I love onions, but I don't like them a lot, like a whole bunch of them on my sandwiches because onions are so strong. I don't want it to overpower my delicious, crunchy oyster mushrooms. That's not what you finna do today, onion. So I'm just going to put a couple of them there, and I do it in layers. It's almost like I'm making a sushi wrap. You put everything in layers, like next. So that's what we're doing right here. Now I have some lettuce. I love good, fresh, crunchy, crispy lettuce. So I kind of use a good bit on here, probably more than I use of everything else. And I just spread that on there. I don't even too much break it apart unless it's just too big and bulky. But in this case, they came out nice. Now I'm going to put some spinach leaves because spinach is so healthy. And I'm just going to lay that right there and just have it added to all this deliciousness. You see all this deliciousness. So now we're just going to add the oyster mushrooms on here. And while we're adding the oyster mushrooms, please don't forget to like my videos, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I add a video. Hopefully the videos will get bigger and better and more different varieties of vegan and plant-based foods. All right, now back to the video. So I'm rolling that on up. I got everything, and look at how it's rolled so nicely. No, it ain't tearing. That means I don't have too much in it. You see that? You see that? You see that wrap? And it's gonna be so delicious. So y'all head back over to my page. check out when I actually eat it and enjoy it. I got an ASMR coming up of this same meal. Thank y'all for watching. Have a good day.